If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more content. Also, please be sure to press the notification button. That way, when a new video comes out, you'll be notified. You know how the United States in modern times has been called a bully and a conqueror, taking interest in the Middle East by occupying and exploiting nations that it's already been in? Many have wondered, what happened to the America that minded its own business and when trouble came it liberated those who were under tyranny? Well, here's the thing, the US one way or another has always tried to spread its influences in foreign lands. Whether it was invading Canada during the War of 1812, going to war with Mexico in 1846, taking land from the Native Americans, or even quote-unquote convincing Japan to open up trade in 1853. Case in point, the United States was never really isolationist per se. They just want nothing to do with European powers. That being said, one of the more unknown parts of US intervention before the Cold War, before the War on Terror, was Latin America. Latin America and the United States has a very complicated relationship that goes all the way back towards Christopher Columbus and the Spanish settlers. Even to this day, with the election of Donald Trump, things are pretty tense. Back in the late 19th and early 20th century, the United States would do a series of interventions and occupations of several countries in Central America and the Caribbean. There, the locals would not take kindly to US occupation and therefore fought the Americans. This will be known as the Banana Wars, a series of conflicts in Latin America and the Caribbean that would show that the US has always been a kind of nation to spread its influence around the world, militarily speaking, but also economic. Also, keep in mind, because of the various conflicts, this video may go all over the place, so please I ask you to keep track as I will be going from country to country and how they were involved in this. To start from the beginning, during the late 19th century was the age of empires. The European powers were underway to take whatever country they can from Africa and Asia, and the United States, seeing this, wanted a piece of the pie. But they needed a reason for this, and soon would get their opportunity. In 1898, the United States would go to war with Spain because of supporting Cuban rebels against the Spanish, American interests in the Caribbean, and the Spanish being falsely accused of blowing up the battleship USS Maine. Of course, Spain would lose the war and would give up the territories of Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines to the US. If you're wondering why the situations such as the hurricane in Puerto Rico or the fact that North Korea threatened to attack Guam was a big deal and how the US got those territories, it's because the Spanish gave it to the United States after their defeat, thus making them US territories, with later down the line making the inhabitants of the islands US citizens. The Philippines is a different story that I will go into in another video. The Spanish-American War was a message to the rest of the European powers. The Western Hemisphere was off limits to them. Despite the Spanish leaving, Cuba, the island, was not all that free. The United States will gain influence in Cuba by occupying the country as well, by establishing a permanent base in Guantanamo Bay. Yes, the same Guantanamo Bay that is known for its torture. While Cuba wasn't directly a colony of the United States and on paper seemed like an independent country, in reality Cuba was a puppet of the United States. One of the main exports from Cuba was sugar, and as we all know, sugar is amazing.
Oh yeah, pour that sweet fucking sugar for me. Hell yeah, this is some good ass sugar. Slurp, go, oh fuck, I think I drank too much.
American businesses took the opportunity to buy out many sugar crops and export most of them to the United States. Some of the Cubans did not take too kindly to foreigners taking over their main export and controlling their government, with that a few rebellions coming up. The most infamous being the Negro Rebellion in 1912. After poor mistreatment of Afro-Cubans, the Independent Party of Color decided to rise up against the Cuban government. However, this rebellion will be put down by the Cuban Army and the United States Marines. Unfortunately, this wasn't the end of it, as many innocent black Cubans were massacred as repercussions for the rebellion. This was only the beginning of the Banana Wars. In Latin America, many workers in these countries were tired of working in long hours and poor conditions. Because of this, many workers went on strikes, while others made militias and started a revolution in these countries. However, American businesses in these countries had interest in them. Because of this, companies such as the United Fruit Company went to the American government to ask for their support in order to stop these uprisings. The US government agreed and sent the US Marines to the following countries of Panama, the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Nicaragua, Honduras, and even Mexico. President at the time, Theodore Roosevelt, thought this was a good way to spread American ideals and democracy through the region. American involvement in Panama goes all the way back as far as 1856 with intervening during the Watermelon War. Yes, that was also a thing as well. Jeez, what's with everyone going to war over fruit? The Americans supported Panama's independence from Colombia in 1903. That being said, the US still had interest there, mainly due to the construction of the Panama Canal, which allowed a faster route between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. That being said, Panama didn't see much bloodshed compared to other nations during the Banana Wars. The US would make several attempts to take over the Dominican Republic in 1903, 1904, and 1914, with mostly naval bombardments. However, it wouldn't be until 1916 where they conquered the island, with American Marines being stationed there. The Dominicans, not liking the idea of an occupying force, some would rise up against the Marines. However, due to the Marines having superior weaponry, the rebellions were put down. It wasn't until the election of Dominican President Horacio Vazquez where he made an agreement with the US that allowed the US Marines to leave the island. The Central American country of Nicaragua will go through a similar process, with the US occupying the nation and Nicaraguan rebels fighting against the US Marines. However, unlike the Dominican Republic, the rebels here would actually be a pain for the US military, with the US withdrawing from the nation in 1933. Honduras would actually be a puppet for American fruit companies after they supported our coup against the leader of Honduras, Miguel R. Davila, and appointed the brutal Manuel Bonilla, as they would exploit the Honduran workers and export the main fruit, bananas, towards the United States. These companies will hire mercenary groups to keep the populace in line. This is where the term Banana Republic would come from. No, not the store, basically a country that's controlled by foreign businesses. As many of you know, the US and Mexico has a very complicated relationship that goes all the way back towards the independence of Texas. In 1910, after anger toward the Mexican President General Porfirio Diaz, the Mexican Revolution began. With the Mexican nation in chaos and plenty of refugees coming to the United States, the US government thought of the next best solution.
Build that wall, 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 build that wall. Build that wall! Build that wall!
Nah, instead, the US put troops across the border and fought with both government and rebel troops, with the United States even shortly occupying the Mexican province of Veracruz in 1914. However, the conflict escalated when Mexican revolutionary Pancho Villa attacked the town of Columbus, New Mexico in 1916. With that, the American government sent in the US Army led by General John Pershing to find Pancho Villa, as the US will occupy the northern part of Mexico. For those who don't know, Pancho Villa was basically the Osama bin Laden of his day, and like Osama bin Laden, the US sent army to find him with no success. I guess some things never change. It also didn't help this also took place at the same time as the First World War, and the Mexican government was supported by Germany. Germany promised Mexico if it were to join the war on its side and destruct the United States, it would give back the territories of Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona that Mexico lost during the Mexican-American War. As you can imagine, most Americans did not take this lightly, and it led to America entering World War I. Overall, the US would withdraw their troops from Mexico in 1919. While not being a Latin American country, Haiti experienced its fair share of the Banana Wars as well. During the early 1900s, Haiti was an unstable country going through 6 presidents in 6 months. There would be a wide number of militias called cacos that would fight among each other, and some of the fighting spilled into the border with the Dominican Republic. With the US occupying the Dominican Republic at the time, this wouldn't go so well, as American President Woodrow Wilson wanted to protect American interests there, so he would order the US Marines to take over Haiti. And while the US did bring order to Haiti, with it rebuilding infrastructure, schools, and irrigation, and even ousting dictator Vilbrun Guillaume Sam, it did however bring misery to the inhabitants. Haiti would probably get the worst treatment of any of the nations occupied by the US, since most of the Haitians were black. Many of them had to suffer the racist attitudes and laws that were brought by the US. With the US establishing segregated areas from black Haitians, taking land from black Haitian farmers, and many of the rich neighborhoods in Haiti were taken by white Americans, leaving many Haitians in poverty, and even treating the Haitians like dirt in their own country. Heck, even some white Haitians, such as the ones of German descent, were treated with humiliation as well. Because of the anti-German sentiments because of World War I, many German Haitians lost their land, and some were even kicked out of the country. Angered by these transgressions, the militias that fought among each other decided to put aside their differences and fight the US. Various guerrilla raids would be conducted onto the US Marines. However, the raids weren't as successful as they thought they would be, and in the end, the US Marines came out on top. Haiti would be occupied until 1934, when President Franklin D. Roosevelt would withdraw troops from the island. So what ended the Banana Wars? The Great Depression. The Depression had a huge impact on the American economy that the companies that exported these products were in big trouble. Not to mention, the US government lacked the funds to keep these troops in these nations. Also, unlike his cousin Theodore, FDR wanted to enforce his good neighbor policy, which he wanted to improve relations with Latin America. Even though the US would come back to interfering with these nations during the Cold War, just ask Cuba. And even today, there's still a rocky relationship between the US and these Latin American countries. So what's the point to show? That the US taking interest in occupying different countries is nothing new. It's been happening for a long time, with the wars in the Middle East being the new banana wars. But instead of bananas, it's oil and other material as well.